Hi, I'm Darren Rudkin, founder of The Mind at Work, and I'm here filming the next in our series of the Purposeful Work series, looking at the relationship between purpose and working life. I'm here for this edition in South Africa. I'm in the small rural village of De Rist in the Karoo. It's a really beautiful area. If I can just show you where we are, I'm going to turn this round, you get a sense of where I'm at. We've got the Swartberg Mountains there in the background, some clouds that you can see. We've just had some rain come through actually, which of course everyone here in the village is thrilled with. So I'm here spending time with the artist Herman Niebuhr. He's a landscape artist and painter and came to prominence some time ago with his work on cityscapes before moving to this more rural location, and his work has taken a turn away from cityscapes, and you'll hear about that in a little while. So I'm just walking down to his studio where hopefully he's waiting for us and we can have a chat about purpose and the impact it has on his working life as an artist. So here we are, coming into his studio, walking through. Okay, you can see we have here one of his more latest series, Spirit on the Water. And then we're coming through into the studio here. Hopefully Herman will be here. Here he is.
Hello.
Hi Herman.
How's it going?
Good to see you. Very well.
Yeah, good.
So Herman, my first question is, what relationship do you see between art and purpose?
It's a good question. I mean, I'd almost want to delve into definitions a little. What is one and what is the other? I presume we're talking about a certain kind of art. That would be my first. What kind of art are we talking about? Because the purpose of the art will determine the purpose of its purposes. If it's intended to hang in a home, if it's intended to hang in a boardroom, is it in, what is the intended audience for the work? Is it a museum piece? All of which would have different purposes that underlie it. That would be my first. So it's to sort of broaden the question of definition of what is, where is it going? What kind of art is it?
So you're saying that the first thing that comes into your view, the first consideration is what's the context? What's the context of this piece of art?
Yeah.
What's it intended for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or where's it intended for?
Yeah. I just think, when we say art, it's such a broad category, it's such a catch-all, and then there's a tendency to, there's the glitzy entertainment version of it, there's the more private art appreciation version of it, there's the sensational, billionaires buying art for billion, that kind of feel. So it's got these different layers, and I would say, I'm sort of working my way around to your question. You'll find that I do that quite a bit.
That's okay, but if I may just come in there, I think what I'm hearing you say straight away is you're naming different purposes that art serves. So sometimes it serves a purpose to sensationalize, sometimes to entertain, sometimes to represent something in a way, sometimes I imagine to have a certain impact on the observer.
That's very good, yeah. That's very good. It's a great way to see and a great way to look at art, to say, what is this artwork's purpose? What is its purpose for me as the viewer? And I'd say, where am I seeing it? And where am I at in terms of my receptivity to what it was infused with by the creator, by the person who made it.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting way to sort of think about it in terms of its purposes.
Well, maybe I should just follow your lead and backtrack a bit in this conversation and ask you, I mean, of course, I spend a lot of time defining purpose and thinking about, what it is and how it works in the world of work. But I'm curious, not to share that, but to hear from you what your definition of purpose is as a working artist.
It's such an interesting question in that it sounds so easy to answer on one hand, and yet just as I start thinking about it, it goes to a whole lot of other things open up for me. What exactly purpose is? So my way of coming at most sort of problems in a way are not unlike the way I create a painting, which is sort of working my way to the final layer, sort of working my way back, and then the final layer is what you see. But that will all have different processes in, so if you allow me the indulgence of putting my mind in neutral and see what, what comes up, then, I would say purpose goes to, why am I doing this? Why am I wanting to do this? So it could be very simply, this is my job and I need to make a painting to get it to the market to sell. That would be I would say, quite a simplistic, lower purpose almost. I don't want to say lower in that it's lesser.
Not as a judgment lower,
yeah.
But somehow lower.
Quite simple. I want to make something that gets to the market and I can sell and turn a buck. So it's the outcome is to make money. I think as I've found, if you deepen that purpose and you sort of say, well, okay, let's put that aside and let's just look at this work that I'm engaging with, this subject that I'm engaging with. Is there a way to deepen this slightly? And then is there a way to deepen it further and further and further? And that's then I'm in the domain of purpose, because I'm looking to deepen the experience of myself and the subject. I'm looking then to deepen the response with the viewer. And I would say in my world, that's my essential drive and motivation, which is to create a work that can contain as much, I want to say, energy as possible, that it can be then given to someone else, put somewhere else, and it transmits all of that was put into it, which came from various factors in the production or in the making or in the creating of the piece.
I was interested in the way you phrased that, and I picked up on something that you were saying about purpose. You were saying, first of all, one purpose is for me to deepen my experience with the subject. Very much talking about you here in this studio with the canvas, with your brushes and paints. So something about you being mindful to deepen your experience with it as the first port of call, and that being connected to but separate from then the experience that the patron has, that me as an observer or your audience has of it. So I'm just curious about the way you separated that out. There was you and then there was the audience.
I think ages ago, it sort of became apparent to me that there are billions of paintings in the world. They're being produced. Thousands and thousands of not only paintings, but images are being produced. We're living in a world where it's incredibly visual. The production of visual material is just legion, and the advent of AI coming along and sort of eating all of that and maybe giving it back to us. I mean, but there is a glut of images. And so I've often had the thing, well, why come in here and make an image by hand? What's kind of the point of that?
Yeah.
And then the deepening of that, it goes, there is something that occurs in the process of making something by human hand that involves more than just image production.
Yeah.
That involves an infusion of I want to say the experience of being human, the experience of being a human in a heightened state, a creative state, and then the experience with the subject matter, and all of which, all these factors coming together in a kind of an alchemy of production, which then would render the final image, as infused as it can be with more than just an image. It actually contains aspects of experience, aspects of knowledge, aspects of the magical, and accidents that occur, and then so in the navigation of the production of an image, let's say, there's something about you're trying to infuse it with as much sort of how can I put this? As much of your knowledge and capability as you are capable of by human hand.
I'll tell you what's fascinating to me, Herman, in what you've just said, and sort of takes me by surprise a bit, because in my world, in the world of business, of course there's a conversation that's very alive right now about AI and what's the role of human beings in that. How are we finding our place with that? Even I would say something unconsciously happening where we're putting ourselves below AI in certain ways and kind of doing away with the human aspect. Certainly it's up for question, that's for sure. And what fascinates me in your answer is that conversation is very alive here in the art world, in your studio. You asking the question, what do I bring that's more than AI can do? A bit like, we've got chatbot now creating poetry. We've got AI creating images. We've got AI going into the workplace, replacing human beings, doing their things, using their brains, using their hands. So here you are in that very challenge. And your answer to that question seems, as I was hearing it, that there was something that you seek, that you claim in yourself, which AI cannot replicate, something that's higher than that. And I think you used the phrase, a higher state or a creative state that you get into, which creates something then beyond an image. It's, you used the phrase earlier on, it contains energy or it creates energy. So you're working with, here it seems to me, you're working with state, you're working with purpose, you're working with energy in service of creating something that's beyond replication or beyond an algorithm, we might say.
Well, if I said it as elegantly as that, then I'm happy.
It's just what I heard of what you said, and then, giving it back to you in a way that made sense to me.
I mean, I'm not setting up a big anti-AI campaign, but I am making the case that there's something it'll never be able to do, because it's not in its nature to generate a higher purpose. Its purpose is replication, and it may get incredibly sophisticated with that replication, and it may become so good at making you think you're looking at the real thing, or reading something that's been written by a person, so on, But ultimately, it cannot replicate the aspect of the real human, the higher human, the human at a higher state. Be that, and this from when you're making a decision. Like painting is a series of decisions, lighter, darker, more this, more that, thicker, thinner. It's a series of decisions, and you have qualities of decisions. Was that a good, bad decision, a right, wrong decision? Was that an expansive decision that led to me being able to solve 5 other things later? It was just, was it I need to change this, like a sort of I want to say a contracted state I made that decision from? Or was it, if I do that, then that may happen. If that goes there, let's do that. Let's try this.
Can you feel that as you're working?
Yeah.
What are the clues?
Well, I'll tell you what, let me give it to you this way. I'll feel it when I'm not in that. Those
The
clues are
absence of
easier
something.
faster, driven.
Yeah.
I need to get the soul. There's a sort of push on it, and that push is not coming from me.
Yeah.
The push is sort of an external push.
Yeah.
Got to get this finished. Got to solve this now. It has a sort of anxiety inside it, and it gets the job done. You'll get it done under that sort of the pressure of that pushing you. You'll get the job done. But in contrast, there's a state that's more, it feels relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm able to draw on a much broader bank of knowledge, both received and almost, I want to say, inspired.
Mm.
So I'm almost like I'm opener, I'm more in tune, my breathing is easier, it's slower, it doesn't have an urgency to it. And the ultimate hallmark, I'd say, is an underlying, and here's where the confusion comes in with the driven. Here's the antithesis of the driven, an excitement. There's a palpable, something's going on here.
Yeah.
Something's about to happen. Something that you can feel it. That's how it feels. It's a quivery, excited feeling.
Yeah.
It's the, I'd say, diametric opposite to that, the stressy, driven feeling, which I'd say those are the two equal and opposite energies that push forward.
Yeah. I'm very confident that the audience listening can really relate to what you're saying in the world of work. I mean, for whatever type of work you're doing, and I can relate to it, there's that qualitative difference between approaching a task, approaching an outcome or a target with that push, that drive, that stress, and you describing that contracted state.
Yeah.
And actually as well, I hear you saying sometimes you're working like that, but it's not the highest state, and it's really contrasted your state when you are in that expansive place. And just to play it back, what I hear you saying is you notice a certain excitement in that is present. There's the absence of that push. And so I've got a couple of questions about that, Herman, because it seems that what you're saying is your state is having a big effect on the quality of what you're producing. And if that's the case, how do you source that state? How do you, what's your process to put yourself in the optimum state to produce art, to produce something that does capture this alchemical quality?
I just wanted to add one thing, because as you were playing that back to me, I realized that the other two things around the two states of being the sort of driven one is, the driven one is, I know what the outcome is. It's the result. I want that. That excited state, I don't know what's coming. I don't know what it's an unknown. So you're standing on the one, it's like you're trying to achieve the result. The other one, you're on the threshold of it and you don't know what's coming next. You don't know how you're going to solve it. There's an unknown, and you're leaping into the arms of the unknown, but with an excitedness that gets you there.
Well, I know you're going to go on and say something, but I think you're saying something so relevant to our dialogue here in this, because of course in the business world we're so working with that domain of outcomes and targets, and it's very, very alluring, seductive for us to get fixed on that outcome, not just to know what it is, but to actually have to have it in some way, so the mind would say. But yet you're saying that when you're in the optimum state, you're open to some more possibility. I want to say, as you're saying that, you're open to something that's even greater than the predicted outcome or the forecast or the sales target or whatever that might be there. But there's something in you that's open to the possibility and not fixed and in a sort of tight, well, we've got to get that. Am I getting you right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm enjoying just hearing the descriptions and thinking about them in that way. A sort of a laser point focus but completely open to possibilities without knowing where you're going to go, versus a laser point focus in a very narrow domain.
Like in blinkers.
Yeah.
That's quite a paradox, isn't it, that's available in my experience of the higher state, or what in our work we call an elevated state, is that you can hold that paradox of being very focused and having your attention really clearly on something, whilst at the same time open to the possibility in the field and what's coming and what's happening here. So it's quite a paradox, isn't it, to hold those two things together. I mean, I have a feeling of that in meetings sometimes when I'm at my best, is that I might be facilitating something, I know what the team are going for, they've said, this is what really matters, but I'm sort of holding that, but kind of holding it lightly because there's something else going on here that might contain that, but actually be greater than it. Or rather than it being a straight line to it, what's being revealed is actually we need to talk about that over there first. We need to unknot that, not whole, or we need to have some creativity over here. That's the thing that's going to lead us to where we want to go. And I think when I'm at my best, I've got that fluidity in my facilitating of a business outcome.
No, I'd hate for it to come across that the higher state is one where everything's fine and easygoing. It's you're still focused on what you need to get done. You still want to solve the problem. The problem hasn't changed. Your approach to it has changed, and you just got more options, and you can use them all. You don't have to use them all, but they're available. And that's the point. You may still pick the obvious option. That's what we need to do here. And that'll solve that, and then execute. Let's do it. Same with a painting. Same decision process. It's like, could it be this? Could it be that? And this all happens very quickly. It's not a long-winded sort of, we missed the deadline because we were in the flow. No, it's very alive and very focused and very... what's happening here? What's happening there? What's happening? Reading the room. Reading. It's dynamic. It's fluid. And it's that's it. That's the state that you're talking about in that meeting where you.
No, I appreciate you saying that, because I think one of the thinking errors around the purposeful state is that it's nice and. Concordant, and we're all getting on. Whereas actually, I think the thing about the purposeful state is that it's very accountable. And actually is willing to have the challenge and the conflict and the disagreement and the calling out, frankly, of the agreements that are not being upheld or not delivered. But it's in service of something higher. It's not in service of a smaller game of blaming, making wrong, being political, getting one up, competing. It's not in service of those lower purposes. It's in service of creating something that ultimately speaks to the service of the organisation. Because we're all of us in service, aren't we? You're serving a human need here, just as I am, just as our audience is. When you come back to that, I think that really energizes and elevates conflict, actually. It elevates conflict, makes it necessary, and has it seen not as something to be avoided or a sign of a bad thing, but something that's actually creative and required and accountable and purposeful, delivering something.
So useful conflict, necessary conflict. It's so good because we're all, no conflict, let's not have conflict, let's keep everyone happy. Well, no. If the purposes are raised and we're all agreeing that this is the purpose we're serving, well, then the conflict is necessary because we've got different points of view. And they may, it doesn't have to be conflictual. It can be, I don't agree with that, because that's taking us there and there and there, and it doesn't fit. No, I disagree, you know.
Where's your conflict here, Herman? Because you know, you're here in this studio on your own. Are you having arguments with yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the sort of idea of the artist alone in the studio having many imaginary conversations, that is quite real.
Mm.
And some are with the self, some are with the lesser self, some are with the proving self, some are with the higher self. You know, there are all these conflicts. Some are with others. Oh, the dealer should have done this. That exhibition should have rendered that. The world is wrong. You know, it has. This is a laboratory for all sorts of things to play out in. The studio is a very interesting place because it's part a. I've said this in another. You know, it's part a laboratory. It's part a workshop. It's part a library. It's part a church. It's part, you know, it has all these aspects, and yet it's not one nor the other. You know, and it's a place of experimentation, of vulnerability, because I know that's a word that sort of has been a bit overused, but it is, you're on the line, you know, no one wants to make mistakes, you know, and so you make the painting and it just doesn't work out that way, and you're suddenly like confronted with your own limits. And then, so those are the conflict is with the self very often. It's with myself. Now, I've just come up with something. It makes me feel bad. I couldn't do it. I had an idea to do this thing. I executed it. It didn't work. Now I'm in that realm of, you're not good enough.
Sure.
You should have done better. You know. And so those are the conversations.
Self-recrimination, self-doubt, accusation. Yeah.
With this,
Well, I think you raise an important thing, because we're all of us, and it's you're describing for us as well, we're all of us here in a relationship with failure, aren't we? Or in a relationship with things not going the way we wanted them to, or the way we said they would, or even the way our boss or boss's boss wants something to happen.
Yeah.
When you have that experience, you know, when something, either the painting doesn't turn out or that brush stroke messes things up, you know, and you're like, you know, what role is purpose playing for you then in those moments, those difficult, challenging moments?
It's the lifeline. It gets me out of the mud, because I go back to, what am I doing here? Because I'm all at sea, you know, and so a part of me will go, oh, well, go and do something that you're good at. You know, leave this painting, do another one, and solve it in that masterful way that you can do that's easy. Basically, go and do what you're good at. I need to stay with what I can't do. I need to stay here. And the only way I can get back to that and get back on the horse, because I'm feeling not like I want to be on this horse, because it's kicking and I'm on the ground. Back to my purpose. Why am I doing this? My purpose for this is to infuse this scene with as much of this idea that I'm trying to communicate.
Or this energy.
Yeah. But I, you know, something that I didn't do. Okay, what was my original purpose here? It was that. Okay, well, easy enough, back on.
Yeah.
But it's the purpose. I go back to that time and time again, because and I've walked this road. If you've fallen off the horse, and it hasn't gone your way, and you're confronted with failure, as it were, the chances are the options are usually something that'll make you feel better.
Yeah.
Not what's required for the task.
No.
So you'll go in some soothing behavior, you know, let me go have a sleep. You go do something, have a cup of tea. Yeah. But there's, you know, these ways of making myself feel better because now something bad happened to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Purpose. What's my purpose here? And it's a reminder. It's sort of, the thing about purpose is it stays alive. It's live. It's a live link back to that. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
I changed in the process of something that happened. And then I go back to, well, my purpose here is to create this image with that idea illustrated in another way, maybe, or but the purpose getting me back to, okay, here we go again. It literally, it's a reset button.
A reset
in the
button.
failure domain.
In the reset button in the failure domain. I love that lifeline analogy you're using as well, a metaphor. It's very powerful, because I've, of course, long witnessed, both in my own process and in the people that I coach and work with. I've long noticed this relationship between purpose and qualities such as resilience or grit or sticking with something or being resourceful when things don't go your way. I've seen that link over and over in myself and in many, many others. It's fascinating to hear you describe it here, because I think you speak about, as an artist, when you hit that difficult point, the temptations to walk out the studio, to distract yourself, to do something else. I mean, I think we can all relate to that. But for you, it's very alive. You come back to, what's my purpose in this scene, or in this moment, or in this painting? And, one of the things that I talk about a lot with my clients is how energy, human energy, organizes itself in purpose. It follows a purpose. If you don't have that lifeline, the energy can just wander off all over, can't it? I mean, energy for a cup of tea, energy for a distraction, energy for defending myself here. It's not what it looks like. It's actually the right decision. It's the right move. All that sort of stuff. But no, when you've got that connection to purpose, your energy gets behind it, and you bring your resourcefulness back to where it's needed.
And that'll be where your purpose is tested. It's all good and well having it up in banners, and when you kick off, my purpose is to be the greatest painter in the world. Well, once you've hit your first snag, try come back to that and be like, that's a stupid purpose. Whereas if my purpose is to make the most, the highest yield energy illustrating this idea that I've got in mind. Okay, that's realistic. That's me. That has a resonance with me. That's a real, and I'm like, okay, back. That's the purpose. Pulls me back, pulls me out of the hole, pulls me out of the, and I'm back on. It's a.
You get it.
Yeah.
It's like the first purpose to be the greatest painter. It's sort of it's external, isn't it? It's extrinsic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're always on the hook then. Of what do people think of your work? Do they say, "Oh, Herman, you're the greatest"? So you're just hooked by that, aren't you? I see that a lot in business. Whereas you're bringing it back to, what's my intrinsic purpose? What's meaningful to me? That's something that is empowering, and it's in your gift, isn't it? Like what I think of your art is not actually in your gift. You can have an aim for it. You can be holding me or holding the audience in, I want you to have, but you're not in control of that thing. I mean, that's the mystery of it, isn't it?
Yes.
But anyway, I'm curious, we're sitting here in the midst of your latest body of work, the night garden. What's the purpose of this body of work, and what's the purpose of, does every painting here have the same purpose, or are there different purposes within this series?
Let me start off by just saying more how they came about, because I think the purpose is revealed in that. I mean, I'd say the central thing that preoccupies me nowadays in the studio and in the work is I'd say a more mystical bent. It's sort of, where's the mystery behind how, and where's the mysterious, and can we make the mysterious, can we reveal the mysterious? Is there a way to make the mysterious manifest? Is there a way, and I want to do it in such a way that it's not out there in some high level esoterica, that it's just, I want it for people to just go, oh, something just, when I look at that, something is moved within me. So that's just to say, that's sort of my central aim with the kind of work I'm making, is to have it reveal some of the hiddenness of life and the life around us. That's the sort of setup. And then, so we're in South Africa, are going through a period of difficulties with our power grid. Easy to get pulled, and it's so interesting how this relates to purpose. As soon as you start that conversation, you so easily get pulled down this road of,
it shouldn't be happening. It's terrible.
And they've done this, and everyone's got an extra story because we're all reading the news. And have you heard? And it's quite a negative. You're down a hole, and next minute you're sort of going, I need to get out of here. Anyway, so I'm sitting with that, and that's real. I'm not denying. I'm not an advocate for if things are bad, stick your head in the sand. But I am an advocate for if things are not going well, look at the whole picture. See if there's more to the picture. That's what I'm an advocate of. Zoom out a bit. Is there more to be seen here? Again, expansive rather than, we're going down the chute here. So, the lights go off at night, and I'm wandering around my garden, and I was fetching something, and then I just had a flashlight with me, and I'm walking around, and all of a sudden the beam of the torch shines onto a flower that's flowering, and in that way that the sort of the artist is always waiting for something to occur. The mystic is always waiting for something to occur. The awake human is waiting to recognize something. I just go, there's something here. And because what's happened is with this torchlight shining on this flower, I'm seeing this as if for the first time.
Beautiful.
And really, and I'm just having, it's enough to have that experience. I just go, I could show people this, but come have a look at night. We'll do that. And you'll see the light. It's an experience. But now I'm going, you've been given you've got your subject lined up. You've been given something. And so that's what set this work in motion. And I call these paintings the night garden. And they have me basically going out at night during the load shedding, because there's something about this great calamity of the power grid going down, which has another side to it, which is it's magical.
It's dark.
It's dark.
Which you can get almost nowhere, real darkness.
And quiet.
Yeah.
There's no noise.
Yeah.
It's quiet. And it has an edginess too, because the voice of your education is going, be careful, it's dark, there could be trouble, there could be things. So it has a sort of an excitement and a charge to it. And that atmosphere, you going out now with your torch, looking, searching for the treasure, which is lurking somewhere. I don't know where it is. I've ended up charting my days and looking around. That's flowering now. I must come back here tonight.
Yeah.
A little map of where these flowers are, and then finding them. And they literally, each time I find them, they have a treasure.
Yeah.
So that's this series of paintings. So every one of these things has been tracked down, looked for. I take a photograph, and then that's the reference point I work from. And essentially what I'm trying to do is each one is, I'm trying to recreate that moment of almost like getting a fright.
Yeah.
And that's what I want them to have.
Thanks for sharing how this body of work came about. I find it fascinating, and I think what you're speaking to does to me link to what you were saying earlier about your state and whether you're in a lower state. Part of being in a contracted state is sort of in an objection, a resistance to reality, to how things actually are, how they actually are going. And I just love that. So there's load shedding, the lights go down. Rather than being pissed off with that, rather than being in that or grumble, you're out in this expansive state with your light, having a look around. Now you don't know, again, it speaks to, you don't know what you're going to find. But the point that I got so crystal clear in the way you tell it is, because you were in that state, because you were in that state, you were able to receive the shock, receive the beauty that was there. You know, when I'm, you know, I can trust, if I'm around grumbling that the lights are out, I'm just shining a light in the dark. There's no openness here. So it's such a story of, and then from that moment, this whole body of work is sourced from that moment. I want to say, I mean, to say to you, it sounds to me like you were in a state of receptivity, which I would call a higher state, and very different from the lower state that we humans can get into, which is we know how things should be, and it shouldn't be this way, and therefore I'm justified being grumbly and being contracted. I justify my own contraction.
And I'll find a mate for it. I'll find someone to grumble with. They can then get some grumbling going, and next minute you're having a big old grumble. And if you're looking at it from the lens of sort of energetics, because you're both going to have a big old grumble and get a bit of steam going there, and it's fine. But it's
it's the lower purpose to be right, isn't it? Which is a very, very attractive purpose in the lower domain.
You're agreeing with me. I'm making a point. Your points are endorsing
You're a good
mine.
guy. You agree with me. We collude with each other.
They are bad. Look what, you know. I just remembered a little anecdote. I was up in the top road looking for the treasure, and because it's load shedding and there's sort of crime is potentially to happen, the police were patrolling, and they arrived and they came up to me, and they sort of had their big old light on me, and they were like, what are you doing, and what's going, you know, in that sort of police way doing it, and I was like, come over here, fellas. Come over, and there's this great scene of me bringing the cops over, and then to look with a flower and lighting it up, and then saying, "Look," and there was, and then back in the car patrolling, looking for, and ultimately there's, it doesn't mean the load shedding's good. It doesn't mean that it's great that the power grid's about to go down. But it doesn't even mean you've got to look on the bright side. No. It's just, that was given, and it's revealed itself, and it is beautiful. And there's, if there's one little antidote, when the lights go out in my home, I go, terrific. I don't go, oh God, here we, I go, time to hit the road, see what's out there.
There's a place in the local police station, I'm guessing, where they've got a picture of Herman up, and there's a title, the lunatic. The loony who shines lights on the flowers at night. They're keeping a watching brief on you. Well, you want to be thankful that, you live in a place where you don't get arrested for unbridled enthusiasm and beauty, Well, why don't you show us some of these, Herman? I'm sure people would be fascinated to see what's been revealed to you in the darkness as you go about with your light. Will you
come
show
on
us
over?
some? Sure. Where are you taking us?
Well, I think we should start. So I think the thing to just get is just the visual. Like if you look at this and you come in real close, it's got these things that the sort of light cascades off it, and the idea is that the light is sort of coming from the internal. That's the idea, and I dare I say it does do that. You sort of think, well, hang on, is this a painting? Is that the light catching it, or it does do that. It's.
I mean, that's the thing that speaks to me in this is, I know from your story that you are shining a light on this thing, but actually what I experience is the light coming from the thing, from the object.
And I want to say, I don't know if the camera quite gets this, but if you stand in front of these things, here's another one, just to get this one. If you stand in front of these things, they sort of put a glow back. Like, I mean, there was that exhibition years ago at the Turbine Hall in London where they had the sun, the Eliasson show, and I loved that thing because people would lie in it, and it had it was artificial, but you had the effect of sun. And in the same way as this, when you look at these things and it has an effect on you. It's and it's artificial. I've created it. It didn't have blue light around it. It didn't. That's not what it looked like. It just had so I'm using skill, knowledge, instinct to create that impression that this thing is lit almost from the inside, and that goes to the sort of the mystical thing of the treasure lies within. The treasure lies within. It's not out there. It's here. And so each one of them has their own reason for being, this little delicacy, and then it disappears off back and mysteriously comes forward, and just an otherworldly glow. That's what I'm trying to create.
But it seemed to me in this one you were saying that there was a specific purpose in this one, which was to create the experience of the delicacy.
Yeah.
Which tell me if I'm wrong, I get from this one here, I get more power than delicacy.
Yeah.
Are you consciously bringing different purposes to each of these works?
Yeah. I wouldn't say they're particular purposes. I'm trying to reveal the nature of that particular plant. I'm trying to reveal the experience that I had when the light hit that plant. Like in this one here, it's like a breath. It's going. It's like a. And so it resembles breath.
Yeah.
To me. Now that's not literal. It's an emotion, it's a state, but that's what I'm going for now. Whether it's successful or not, that's out of my hands.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going for.
Whenever I look at that, it looks to me that that iris is giving me the finger.
And so it is.
So it is.
I think the thing to get as well with so these are ones I'm working on still. The ones on the walls are complete. So these it's useful to sort of see them in different states. They a painting, and we covered some of this when we looked at your book, which we're also going to talk about. The sort of processes. You put all the information down. And then what's required is a sort of a discernment. Does this stay? Does this go? Do I make more of this or do I make less? Does that get darker to push it back and this one comes light? And if so, what does that do to the overall feel, which is my essential purpose, is that feel that I'm trying to create that I can't give a name to yet. I want to call it the essential nature of that image. Then I'm making a string of decisions. So all the information goes down. There's the plant. You could sort of see, you can see how these are going to turn out. They just don't have any magic in them yet. They're sort of shorthand of something. And then you start with and all those decisions. You asked me earlier, I didn't answer directly about the state. How do I get myself into a state to make these things?
Yeah.
And so here's the answer, circling back to that, is every decision that I make requires me to have an action, and then and then a recognition of that action. So that goes darker, that goes lighter, that gets a halo. Those are actions, those are decisions. And then I need to feel, is that the right decision? So that's the sort of toing and froing now. I've put all the information down. Now I need to sort of start editing. What goes? What do I make more of? I need less of these leaves because I need this red flower to come forward. I need less of this whole cactus business going on because I want the action here.
Yeah.
All decisions, and I make them in a state of, I mean, I'd hate this to sound stereotypical, but it's quite a meditative state. So when I'm working, there's a sort of a, what's going on here? Let me just, sort of a feeling my way into it. Then there's the action. Okay, make it,
I notice you just breathe then.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What role is breath playing in your state?
Yeah. It's absolutely crucial. Before I can actually see what I'm doing, I take a breath, and I settle myself, and I stop my mind, and I quieten everything down, and it's like I'm almost like I'm trying to get to a almost narcotic state where I'm just looking, not thinking, not necessarily even feeling. I'm just looking, and then things slow right down.
Slow down.
They slow right down, and then suddenly the thing starts. This is the experience I have, and then it starts sort of. I want to say tingling. I want to say that the image starts kind of tingling.
This is fascinating to me because there are so many parallels between what you're saying and my coaching of leaders around decisions.
Yeah.
With a few different exceptions, like I'm not going for the narcotic stuff because that'll look quite strange when they're in the boardroom. And also the other difference is I really de-emphasize consciously making the right decision because I find that paralyzes people. And objectively speaking, there's no such thing as a right decision. But what you were saying there really did translate to me is that, and I encourage people to decide, make a decision, and then observe the consequences of that decision and then respond. But the thing that really spoke to me in that, which has a direct parallel to my work, is my focus when I'm coaching leaders is to encourage them to be in a state where the decision comes from that state. And so I want you to know, Herman, that actually what you're saying really translates to the business world. There are leaders out there who are consciously breathing, slowing the breath down, looking at their field of action, which is a business situation, not a painting. And then just like you were bringing to life to us there, from that state where the breath is fuller, they're slowing down, their perception increases. I find over and over and over again, they will just turn to me and say, I know what to do. This is the choice I want to make, and this is the purpose behind it. It's just such a parallel to your world.
Yeah. Well, who would have thought that humans are the same all over the place? Whether they're running a captain of industry, running a big old thing, quiet artist running a big old thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'd say, just thinking about it, what it comes down to is, what are you running?
Yeah.
What are your purpose? Like, have you really got something going on here?
Yeah.
Or are you just getting by, getting through your life, paying your mortgage?
Yeah.
I'm trying to make something that is unreal and magical here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do something that's mad. It's impossible. And it requires the sort of discipline of there's things required of me, of my state.
Yeah.
I got to bring a certain I prepare myself. I prepare. I don't do this through the night. I don't drink heavily. I don't. I've made certain decisions that sacrifices. Yeah. I'm not out. I'm quite focused on this.
But you're not just coming in here and getting straight onto painting. I do see this as a repeated folly in the world of business. Is people show up at a meeting. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of money sitting around the table being spent for hours. Just dive in to the content as if they're ready to produce something of a higher order. It's a mistake over and over. And if they're listening to you, what they're hearing is, prepare your state first. That it's like you're teaching us that's the wellspring from which comes creativity and choice and action.
Here's the experience. I've got this as an experience, not as a theory. Is if you want to make something extraordinary, you need to get your state in alignment with it. And that is, I call that a higher state. It's an elevated, I mean, I know you also speak of that elevated state. If you don't, you're going to make an ordinary decision in an ordinary way, and there's a ton of that going around.
Yes.
So you're welcome to all of that, but that's on offer. That's easy street.
Yeah.
The part that's not is something extraordinary, something of the higher, something, and you almost, in that breath, when you're slowing it down, it's like you're inviting something in, if I can put it there. I mean, I don't know if that's that's how it feels to me. I'm sort of inviting, a co-creator in, I don't know, like inviting a decision
Inspiration.
Inviting something in.
Yeah.
And so, and then the next step, and the next step is, and it's more of a, it's more of a dance than it is an action, So that's how I would, if that's...
Well, as you know, Herman, I spent quite a lot of time in the world of innovation and creativity.
Yeah.
I had that experience over and over, that the ideas that came to me, I didn't create them in that way. They just sort of popped in. It's like, if I got really honest with it, my part was to create a certain receptivity and to not get in the way, and then the idea would come through. And that really does relate to what you're saying. In a way, it is a partnership, isn't it? That creativity, that inspiration.
I tell you, and just thinking about you describing sort of your world and my world, I mean, I think that's the place of meeting. Are you making extraordinary decisions? Are you doing extraordinary work?
Yeah.
Or are you doing the ordinary? Are you keeping the shareholders happy? Are you making your margins? Are you, or are you building something?
Yeah.
That's a value. I mean, that's how, because I can make a whole lot of ordinary stuff here day in and day out. And in fact, a lot of canvases have the ordinary in them because they get painted over.
Yeah.
They don't exist. I don't let them out of here.
Yeah.
So by the time they leave here, can you, because that's the measure of a life.
Yeah.
Surely a life well lived is that, have you built something that you can be proud of?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I have on these things before they're let out. It's like, can you hold your own in the world without me holding your hand? Can you hold your own? Do you have enough of whatever I was given and to put into you for you to go off and do your work on the wall and bring a facsimile of that experience that I had to the viewer?
Yeah.
And in a sense, is it open enough? Was I open enough in the moment when I made it? Because here's where the alchemy comes in. People will look at this, and the more open a painting is, they'll impose their reading of it. And as they do, the more opener the painting is, the more people see in it, as they will, I see this, I see that. This reminds me of this reminds me of that. And that's how I find them working best.
I find this an extraordinary piece, Herman. I love this one. Yeah. It just seems so alive and, in a way, human. Like you're picking up the very sort of the light that's within it. I see the heart of a human being. Yeah. I see the spirit within us. Yeah. It's a beautiful piece. And I thought you were, when you were talking earlier about, you were saying, my purpose is to capture the essence of that thing, the light within it, its uniqueness. I do see in that really an invitation to us as leaders. I mean, many of the people listening to this will be leaders. wouldn't it be something if we could really view our leadership, our coaching, our support of each other, if we were seeing ourselves really empowering and bringing out the light of each individual person that in our organization, in our teams. I mean, these are all plants, aren't they? But look at how you've really had a purpose to bring out the uniqueness of them.
Beautiful. That's a nice way to
I mean, I'd love to.
They're almost personalities. You're saying they're portraits of plants.
Well, they have their essence. I mean, I'd love to coach the people. I'd love to coach them with that essence that you spoke of just then. Really, how can you bring out the light in people, the uniqueness of them? It's a beautiful invitation.
Just to pan over here, this is also nice. To just here the ideas are. Here's the boardroom.
This is the inventory. The supply
It's
chain.
all here. It's all. It's all here. This gets turned into that. And the only way that this
not with me standing there, there is something in between.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. A bit of skill, but not much. I can teach you the skill to do it. The only thing that's the same as here and anywhere else that I could say is that purpose. The purpose to elevate this gooey stuff into this. That's the essential purpose, which is what creates it. So there's steps in between, obviously.
But that's the bridge, isn't it? You're saying there's the bridge between that and that is the purpose that is residing in you. I mean, that's the human part, isn't it? The uniquely human part. And that bridge can be lower. Let's just kind of turn this into some money through something there. Or it can be something that is really higher and inviting essence and experience and also quality. Like, I'm not just going to put something out that doesn't have a certain energy or resonance, a quality to it.
Yeah, very good.
Beautiful. The studio, the night garden. Here it is. Thank you, Herman.
Thank you for making me think of these things in another way, in a different context, and just really giving me that insight that what's happening in here is no different from what's happening in more important places. Because it's not. It's nice to have that thought as well.
Well, I tell you, Herman, I was a bit like you wandering the garden with the light. I walked into your studio and I was thinking, I've really got no idea about whether there's going to be parallels or inspiration, or your world here would translate to the world that I live in and that this audience lives in. So it was a journey of the unknown for me as well. But over and over, I just found what you were saying to be, I mean, not just directly applicable, but also hugely inviting and inspirational of us to say, we can bring this spirit into our organizations. And if I'm hearing you charging us and saying, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? And I think I would say, in the mind at work, I think we are blessed to attract leaders who have that spirit. They are looking for something more than just, of course they need to create profit and results and outcomes, of course, all that, but beyond that, reaching for the higher, reaching for how are we serving our customers? What difference are we making to their lives? Or is this product worthy of our name to go out? I do want to reassure you, there are people out there in the business world who are genuinely motivated and sourced by asking those questions.
Well, it almost feels as if it's countercultural if one goes on what appears to be going on. But even that I'm starting to realize, well, that's also a choice of how you choose to see things. It's like, it's either a power failure or it's a chance to explore the magical garden.
Yeah.
Both are real and true.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank
you.
you, Herman.
Very good.